You just won't believe how f***ing hard it is to make a video.
This is the Weld Like Bazza podcast.
Welcome along to this week's mini edition of the Weld Like Bazza podcast. It's currently Sunday the 7th of July and we had a massive week last week, the general election here in the UK, which my dad will be pleased to know that Labour got in. God bless you, Dad. I know that you sat with me right now listening. Labour got into the UK, and I think now it's time to just get on with it, isn't it? I think there's been a lot of excuses for a long time in the UK. Every time you speak to somebody, they're a little bit quiet, or things don't seem the same as they used to be. But there's been a massive amount of upheaval, and the general election was a massive thing in the UK. And I think everybody was just holding on to everything they had, including the breath at times, waiting to see what happens the minute we got a new Prime Minister and a new government. Well, the government's in. It's just time to crack on. You know, we really need to push forward and just make it happen. And this has brought to light the reason why I wanted to do this mini video today. And it is going to be a short one because I've got a massive week ahead. Service work is just stacking up and up at the moment. As you always find in a little bit of a lull or, a recession, so to speak. I'm not saying that we're in recession at the moment, but what I'm saying is things have been quieter. And I think that's due to what we just spoke about, the general election in the UK, and also people just holding on to see what's going on. But what you do find in those times of things being a little bit quiet is people get quite aggressive. Now, I don't know if this is in every single industry, but I know in the welding industry, it becomes incredibly easy to see. People start to fight for the smallest little bit of business. And I think what happens in some cases is they forget about the business they've already got. And customers also use it as an exploitation platform to use a crowbar and quite often try and beat you down on price or, really try to put you under pressure. And this brings me into a conversation that I've had with quite a few people over the last couple of months. Everybody has said things just seem quieter. Now, that situation is different depending on what area of the business or the industry you work within. MS Welding is a service company. We offer a service. Now, I know Joe Irvin's laughing as he listens to this. I was going to say a solutions provider, but as we pointed out, apparently everybody is a solutions provider at the moment. I'm even thinking about changing that heading on my LinkedIn. But we're a service company and we offer a service. Now, that service doesn't matter if it's repairing your machine or servicing a machine or sorting out a problem that you may have with the process. We're giving you a service and people come to me because of the personal aspect of that, but also the years and the wealth of knowledge that we have as a company. It's not something that we've fallen into overnight. And I see that within the welding industry, people coming in quite naive to other people's abilities and other people's, standing within the industry. And a prime example of this is somebody who called in last week and, trying to sell their products. And I was very polite, but I also said, I'm incredibly loyal to my premium brand, which is EWM. Anybody that knows me knows that it's been a premium brand of ours as a business for a long time. That does not mean that's the only welding machine on the planet that's any good whatsoever. It means it's one that I strongly believe in when we come to talking about high-end kit. The EWM brand of machines, I've had unprecedented amount of success with. We've been into a lot of applications where people have had problems and we've managed to solve it with technology alone. Obviously, the knowledge behind us as a company and how we apply that technology, that's something that's very unique to us. But again, very loyal to the product. And the comeback from that particular customer that called in, or that particular sales rep that called in, was, we've got things that EWM don't have. And I was like, but do you? Seriously, do you? And I think that naivety of not understanding the full catalogue of what a welding equipment manufacturer actually has in their artillery. EWM's got a massive catalogue. And as it was said very early on in one of the very early podcasts with Callum, EWM can also do bespoke things for you, which is just, again, another level. I'm not saying they're the only company that can do that, but they are very good at what they do. I started looking about on LinkedIn, I had 5 minutes on my lunch, and I've been purposely keeping away from LinkedIn over the last couple of months. And that comes back to a conversation that I think I had with Alan, I think it was about 8 years ago over LinkedIn. I said to Alan, sometimes you just got to step back from it and let everybody else get on with it. But it appears to me over these quiet periods that we've seen recently within the welding industry that the LinkedIn platform, maybe just from my standpoint from the welding industry, has become the Wild West. And it's a Wild West in which I don't believe a lot of. And that comes from a couple of other conversations that have taken place this week. People openly admitting to me that on many occasions they would, work for a particular company, and this isn't any company in particular, and I will, maintain my standpoint on keeping it quiet where it's come from. But people have openly admitted to getting machines off the rack, making the order look 3 times bigger than it initially was, taking a picture, putting a little post on another order to another valued customer, and then putting everything back on the rack, posting the post to LinkedIn. And all of a sudden everybody believes that this is real. Now that's not necessarily a good thing if you're looking at LinkedIn to assess what everybody else in the industry is doing at the moment, because you might then sit back and think, what am I doing wrong, or what are we doing wrong as a company? Ultimately, I think everybody's figures are down. We're hearing that across the board. A lot of people are speaking of the same kind of thing. Not everybody works 25 hours a day like me, because it's just humanly impossible. And I am trying to find a biochemist that can help me become more non-human, so I can continue with that. But again, I'm a small company in reality, and we are looking to grow. So if you've got a good CV and you think it'd be worth sending it in to me, get your CV sent into sales@mswelding.co.uk. But back onto what I'm saying. LinkedIn seems to be rife with this Wild West mentality. People using it as a dictionary to steal other people's customers. I've witnessed that firsthand. People using it as a dictionary to try and find out what other people are doing it. I've witnessed that firsthand again. What I do want to say is stick to your guns, stick to what you're best at, and stick to what you're known at. Yeah, there's always going to be new industries. There's always going to be new areas of industry that you can kind of get into. But don't buy into the fact that one particular customer is posting that they've just got on, to a massive, let's say, nuclear site, Hinkley Point. Oh, we've just supplied another 5,050 machines to Hinkley Point. Don't believe everything that you see on LinkedIn, because it's not always true. But then also try and spruce it up. Try and make your content a little bit better. So make it valuable. Have you got something to tell somebody that they might take away and feel a little bit better about? And hopefully, if anybody's watching this today and they're thinking, Baz is going on a bit of a rant, just take that from me, that I've had it on numerous occasions confirmed to me that people do these posts. You know, somebody may have seen a post 4 or 5 times over the period of an 18-month period. We changed, you know, the changed wording, but it's similar pictures or the same pictures edited or whatnot. And it's not all true, you know. Hopefully what I'm hoping to see now is, now that we've got a brand new government, brand new prime minister, and they talk about doing things completely differently and working for the people in the country, we might see, you know, all these new sectors of business blooming back into life, old sectors of business blooming back into life, giving everybody, you know, that extra buffer of business and an area for growth that we've all been wanting for, you know, the last couple of months. In other news, I've had a fantastic conversation, a telephone conversation this week that I want to tell everybody about. I think these are great. I get so many telephone convos on a weekly basis, daily basis. This particular one came in from a customer that I don't think's dealt with me for 10 years. And I think that was our choice. I don't think the customer was a particularly good payer. And I don't think it was particularly easy to deal with. And he called up and such and such a company, and I've got a machine, it's just gone down. Can you get out to me? And I was very honest. I went, not immediately. No, I can't get to you immediately, I'm afraid. Well, you condemned a machine 10 years ago, and I sent that to somewhere else, and they also said it was unrepairable. I was like, right, okay, fine. So what can I do for you today? Well, I bought another machine secondhand, and he told me the model of it. The machine that he bought secondhand was obsolete 30 years ago. So he he kind of said, I think they're all the same, aren't they? I was like, oh, not really. You know, they all have a similar effect. You know, they create amps and volts at the end of the welding torch, but they're not all the same, and they don't all do it in the same way, no. Well, this one's gone down. I need you to have a look at it. And I was like, I'm already 10 days into, you know, a backlog. So if you want me to look at it, you can get it here within the next 7 days, and I can start to work it in. Oh, well, that's no good. I've only got one machine and it's just gone down. And I was like, right, okay. So have you had it serviced? Have you had it repaired? Have you looked after it? Have you dealt with anybody else? You know, have you tried anybody else? And he said, well, I've tried one place and they've already said they can't look at it. I've tried another place. They've already said they can't look at it. I've phoned you and you've said that you can't look at it. Already understanding that I'm not the first port of call for this particular customer, I was like, right, okay. And then he said, but I went into one of your competitors the other day to buy a little stick set, a little inverter stick set. And they were telling me they've got a wizard that works out the back as their engineer. I said, oh, I know that wizard. And he's got a 2-week backlog as well. But, you know, feel free to send your machine to him. I'm sure he'll really appreciate it. And again, this just shows, doesn't it, that not everybody's loyal in the industry. They may tell you on face value that they are loyal and that they're a loyal supplier or they're an ally. You know, they're not going to stand on your toes. They might be within a 5 or 6 mile radius, 10-mile radius of you, and let's work together. Let's not stand on each other's toes. And the minute you turn around, you know, they're plugging for you a little bit of business from your customers. And that's just, to me, that's a great big flag that things have been a little bit steady within the industry, and everybody's scratching around at the moment for extra little pieces of business. This week, I want to say a massive thank you to Andy Lomax, who picked up the phone in my moment of need this week, and it wasn't business related. I was just having one of those down days, and I've had quite a few of those actually over the last couple of months. But yeah, Andy was there at the end of the phone, phoned me up and kind of give me a bit of a shaking up, and he even called in for a cup of tea, which were brilliant to see Andy. A massive thank you to my mate Callum, who's become like a brother. Callum from EWM actually has become like a younger brother that I feel I've got to look after. And he disclosed something to me which was really heartfelt and touching. And Callum said, you know, one of the closest losses that he's had of death was actually my dad. And that kind of struck a real chord with me, that somebody from within the industry who, although we worked together, and, for the same cause, was actually affected on a very personal and emotional way by the loss of my dad. And that's been some of the biggest leverage for the changes that he's recently made regarding the healthy diet. He's even thinking about installing a water filter because he doesn't trust the water out the tap at the minute. And also Callum has been raiding the stocks at EWMHQ and really come up with a bag full of tricks for me to try and get the video podcast running, which we are going to do. Callum, I've not actually used any of it on this, can you believe it or not? I've scrattered about and used stuff that we already had, but we are going to use some of the stuff that you brought down for sure. And also, I want to say a very big hello and a big thank you to my top mate, Paul Carney. Is that Paul Carney? Who's an absolute legend, and we have every couple of weeks we have a little bit of a Teams meeting, and we just kind of bounce ideas about off each other, helping each other out. What's going on in the industry? What have we seen? What have we heard? What are we doing? And Paul Carney is the guy behind the QR code that you see on the Weld Like Bazza stickers. In fact, let me show you them. Have you got one yet? The Weld Like Bazza toolbox sticker. I don't know if you can see. How cool is that? We're going to get some more ordered. If you want one, let us know. It'd be brilliant for you to stick a comment down below in the video, or even in the comment section on Spotify. Did you know actually that if you listen to the podcast on Spotify, you can actually log into the comments part at the end and you can leave a comment. We can start putting polls on there as well, but the comment section's great. And also some news that me and Paul spoke about. The official Weld Like Bazza American football shirt is soon going to be coming to the Weld Like Bazza podcast. And also the Weld Like Bazza Golden Helmet Awards. They're going to be happening in December this year. It's got to happen. It's still undisclosed to the masses of exactly what we're going to be doing, but watch out for that, because I do believe that the Weld Like Bazza Golden Helmet Award is going to be absolutely next level. As you can see, we've done loads of work in the studio. We are awaiting some more furniture, so we're going to get a circular desk. And the next podcast, I think we're going to have a bit of a three-way session. That's right. Everybody's going to be giving high fives around the table. I think it's going to be me, Johnny, and Callum having a little bit of a lad session around the table. And I've even got the special ginger shots from my super posh supermarket. And Callum loves it. I gave him one the other day and he went, God, I forgot how bad they were. But no, we had a little bit of a date, did me and Callum this week, a bit of a lunch date. So it was good to get Callum down and have a bit of a chat. And I showed him a little bit of a problem that I've been working with, and he was scratching his head. And I saw Callum go into that deep thinking mode that he spoke about on a couple of the podcasts. So that was cool. But coming up in the next couple of weeks, I've got a lot of service work going on, and that's really important. I think this particular customer that I do this service work for, it actually shows that it works, because we've got 40 or 45 welding machines in that particular customer. We have very little breakdowns. I think the majority of the things that go wrong is probably people breaking stuff. Torches is a big one. Torches get manually broken by this customer. But as a rule of thumb, because of the regular service and the regular calibration, and the annual stuff that goes on in there, and we do it in a very specialist way. It's very machine specific. We look at it with some really good equipment, to be honest, and everything comes out certified, not just calibrated. So we do that as a separate entity. The service is, very in depth actually for an on-site service, especially with 45 machines. But it's worth its weight in gold. The amount of actual breakdowns that we have from that customer, touch wood, which I'm doing now, and I'm sure it's real wood, is minimalistic. And that's what I would also recommend you looking at as a company. If you're watching it from a welding perspective and you've got one or two machines and you rely on those machines to earn your living, if that's, one of the main tools of your, artillery, make sure you've got a backup. Make sure you've got a backup welding machine. Doesn't need to be of the same quality of your primary machine. Let's say you use a Fronius machine or a Miller machine or an EWM machine, a Lincoln machine. Your backup machine doesn't need to be the same quality. It just needs to be a machine that gets you out of trouble if something goes wrong with your main machine. Another thing that I think you can do is if your main machine, your main tool is your welding equipment, buy a new machine, run it for 3 years, and then when it's time to update, buy a new one, but keep the old one and keep it running. Keep it in good condition. If it's got a water cooler and it's got running a water-cooled torch, keep the cooler running. Turn it on once a week. Keep the machine running. Do a couple of jobs with it. Don't just put it to one side and let it kind of collect dust and become a tea table and then think that you need to sell that machine. Keep it. Get it serviced and get it calibrated every year. It doesn't cost a lot to do that, but what it does is, let's just say something serious goes down with your primary machine, you've got a secondary machine that you can jump straight onto. Highly recommend it. In this situation, you may have a machine that you use purely for site work, and that might be a dual voltage machine. Make sure you've got a spare. Make sure you've got a backup so you're not relying on somebody being able to fix it really, really quick. Because as engineers become fewer and fewer, their workload becomes more and more, and that backlog becomes, bigger and bigger. And we're always going to push certain customers right to the very front of the queue. But there's only so many hours in a week. And I seem to be working every single one of those hours at the moment just to keep on top of my primary kind of customers, keeping them running. My good customers have really listened to what we've said. They've got a little bit of a backup plan, a couple of spare machines in a factory of 20 machines. There'll be a couple of machines that roam around that can be used. And I would strongly recommend that's what you budget towards, next year or the year after, is buying that second machine. Not everybody's got a hire machine. Not every hire machine that you hire is going to be to the spec that you want it to be. It's a hire machine. Somebody's going to hire that out and they're just earning money from that, and you need to be aware of that. Not every single hire machine is going to be to the standard that you're used to. So budget in for service, budget in for those spare machines. If you're a company with 45 machines, make sure there's a couple machines that don't get used as much that you can ultimately keep in the background and move into that position if a primary machine goes down, one that's right at the very front of the production, and make sure that it can keep up to the job. I think that's really important. And also build really good relationships with engineers. I think engineers at the moment are going to be the lifesaver of your industry. Your water pump's going to go down. They're going to be able to fix it. You've got a specialist torch and it's configured a specialist way. They're going to be able to manipulate that for you. They're going to be able to, integrate that into something else. They're going to be able to, automate a situation for you if you want to. They're going to be able to fix that problem. They're going to be able to find that solution, Joe Irvin. Yep. They're going to be able to find that solution for you. So I think at the moment, if you've got an engineer that you use, keep them close. If you've not got an engineer that you use, check us out at mswelding.co.uk. We are, first and foremost, welding engineers dedicated to welding equipment in the welding industry. But also, we back that up with exceptional service on consumables and spares. If you want high-quality, hard-facing wires, that's available right here. If you want high quality stainless steel TIG filler, it's available here. If you want some really, really good quality A18 TIG filler, it's in stock. If you want new torches made with bespoke heads or an automation torch for an automation process, come and see us, because it's everything that we can do for you. As well as being fume extraction, we always go down the route of Kemper. I just think they're a fantastic company to deal with. Again, their service is what makes them a great company. A fantastic product is a Kemper product, but the service from the guys in Germany is exceptional. It's second to none. It's another reason why we deal with them. I think that's all I've got to talk about today. It's been a very short podcast. I wanted to give it a bit of a try, see what we look like in the studio. I want to hear what you think about what I've said about LinkedIn, you know, the wild west of the welding industry. Everybody posted on there, not necessarily truthful, some of the stuff that you're on there, that you're reading on there. And it's not necessarily good for you. It's not necessarily good to be reading all that stuff and believing in every single part of it. So on that note, I'm going to jump off, get back onto loading my van for tomorrow. I hope each and every one of you have a fantastic week. I'm gonna get off, but welcome to the new video version.
The Weld Like Baza podcast is sponsored by MS Welding, the #1 welding solution provider. mswelding.co.uk